Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm going to show you the last game I played before I started to record again. It's a game I'm extremely happy with. I think it's one of my best attacking games, or at least I understood the most out of many attacking games I had. Again, it's very tough to show, and it took me a while to start recording because how these games went, but I still have to do it. I'm going to record every game I play. I faced an opponent I played last year in the Amateur European Championship, and I beat him then. I had black pieces again, and in that game I played the node boom. In this game we reached, well, the same position, but I didn't go c6, e6. I went into the main line Meran stuff. So, we reached the main position of the Meran Semi-Slav, in which after knight bd7, bishop d3, dc4, bishop c4, b5, he has a choice between bishop d3, e2 or b3. He played bishop d3 and I went a6. Now it's well known that the only move for white here is e4. You have to play e4 to play for an advantage. Castles is a mistake. He played castles, and I know this position extremely well. The way to punish this is c5. Now, he can play a4, he can play queen e2, but he took on c5. And of course you want to take with the knight. The reason you take with the knight is to put pressure on the bishop and to prevent a4. If you take with the bishop, there's a4. Okay, so bishop c2. Offering a queen trade, of course, bishop to b7. I don't mind trading queens if I'm the first to occupy the d file. And more importantly, I have the e4 square under control. So if I can keep this bishop blocked in, then I'm happy. He played b4, after which I actually know this position too. I'd analyzed this previously, like 2 years ago. So I know that black is better here. You can go knight e4. And I didn't want to go knight e4 because I didn't want to trade pieces. I wanted to keep the pieces on the board. The position is very dry as it is. His pawn is going to end up on a3. And of course, the pawn structure will be completely symmetrical. So keeping the pieces on the board is the only way to keep it interesting. So, knight back to d7. a3, bishop e7. Bishop b2, castles, queen e2, all very standard. Now he's going to put his rooks on d and c files, and I basically don't want my queen on e8. I want my queen on b8 or on a8 or on b6. So I played rook c8, and I was ready to transfer my queen to b8. That was the plan, and it turns out this is the best plan. Rook fd1, queen c7, rook ac1, queen b8. Standard. Okay, now here he played e4, and e4 is thematic, but it's a bad move. The reason it's a bad move is because he isn't threatening e5. If he plays e5, I play bishop f3 and knight e5. So this move simply blocks his bishop. It blocks mine too, but it gives my bishop a target. So e4 doesn't really do anything. Rook f to d8 is what I played. I could have gone knight b6 as well. The main idea in this position, since I have a knight on d7, is using the c4 square. Of course, he cannot do the same thing because he doesn't have a knight on d2. He would have to go knight d2, knight b3, knight c5. And even if he did, the square is sufficiently defended, whereas c4 has 0 defenders. But I decided to include my rook in the game first. I didn't think knight b6 was going away. He played h3, and to me it signaled that he doesn't really know what to do. So I played h6. I wanted to give the move back to him, which I think was a good idea. I could have gone knight b6, of course, but then maybe bishop b3 or bishop to d3, trying to defend c4. h6 is okay. It gives me luft, it prevents any knight g5 ideas. It gives my knight h7, f8 if there are ever problems along this diagonal with queen d3, so I don't think that's a bad move. He played queen e3, preventing knight b6, so I just played bishop a8, reinforcing the threat. I'm not in a hurry, and bishop a8 also gives me the option to go queen b7. Now I had a plan here, My plan was to weaken the light squares by provoking the move g3. That may sound abstract, but it's actually not, because he played h3, knight h5, knight f4 is devastating, and also knight h5, bishop g5 could be devastating. So at some point I figured he would have to go g3. He played bishop b1 here, which I think prepares to defend the c4 square with bishop a2. I went knight b6, he played rook d8, and bishop to a2. Now I could have gone for knight h5 straight away, but I wanted to challenge the c4 square, so I played rook c8. I couldn't see a reason why not. I think this was a good move, because if I get my knight to c4, I win the bishop pair, and in this symmetrical structure that would mean a lot. The fact that he doesn't have the bishop on b2 would mean that a3 and b4 are forever weak. So he played knight d2, reinforcing c4, and now knight h5. Now, if he doesn't do anything, bishop g5 and knight f4 are extremely unpleasant. So he has to play g3, I think. The engine says g3 is bad. He should go knight e2, but it's really tough to calculate this stuff. So if rook takes, bishop g5, he cannot go f4, because I just take it. I have 3 guys on f4, and it seemed too scary for him to allow this, so he didn't. The engine says this is better than playing g3, but I think g3 is a human move. Now the problem with g3 is that this diagonal is now very unsafe. I played rook d8 first. The idea behind rook d8 is bishop g5. I just want to beat him. So if he, for example, he played knight e2 here, and I went for queen b7, which I thought was better than bishop g5, but I actually spent a lot of time calculating bishop g5. This was the main idea in the position. So if bishop g5, he of course plays f4. Now it's been defended. So if I play knight takes g3, he probably doesn't play knight takes g3 because of bishop g5 and rook d2. That loses too many pieces for no reason. So queen g3, and now I take the knight. And he has 3 more pieces lined up on the second rank. That's the tactical issue. You cannot take my bishop because I take the queen and keep taking stuff. This, of course, should be very good for me. The bishop is hanging. It doesn't really have a square except for b1. My knight has the c4 square. His rook has no checks, and I'm a pawn ahead. So that wouldn't work. I didn't play that. I thought queen b7 was better, and I couldn't see a way for him to defend. Unfortunately, there is a way for him to defend. If you turned on the engine says bishop d4 or king f1. King f1 I didn't consider. I have considered bishop d4, and this was the main follow-up. And I thought I'd found something extremely clever, which is true, but the engine defends. So bishop g5 was better. So he's threatening to take my knight, but I just ignore it. I go knight f6. The idea behind this is if the bishop moves, ever, I take on d2, I play knight e4 and I win, because there will be no defense to checkmates on these 2 squares. Now, he took on b6 straight away, going into a completely losing position. He played bishop b6, and now rook d2. Okay, now if he takes my rook, then knight takes e4. And this is... The engine plays bishop d5, as you can see. Now, if bishop d5 is the best move, then I'm just up material, and it's a fairly simple position to convert, I think. I don't think I should have any issues here. I just take it. I mean, it should be simple. Instead, he played an even worse move. He played rook c7. And now, after rook c7, I threaten mate. Queen e4. He doesn't have time to take my bishop, and also his bishop is hanging. He has to take my queen. I don't see any other options. If he plays f3, I can just take on f3 and create the same threat, and nothing changes in the position. So queen e4. And now, whether I should have gone rook d1 check or taken on e4 is debatable. The engine slightly prefers rook d1, but that actually leads to an endgame. So if rook d1, king h2, and then bishop e4, threatening mate, that's one of the main ideas behind queen e4, then he plays rook c8, king h7, and rook c1. And I was analyzing this position for about 10 minutes. And I figured, okay, I should be winning here. If I can get my bishop to b2, I should be winning. The engine says completely winning, but I'm not as good. So I took on e4, which is also good, also like -10. Also works. So this is hanging, this is hanging, this is hanging, and mate in 2 is hanging with rook d1 and rook h1 checkmate. He played the move knight c3, which is the only move to stay in the game. He has to defend against rook d1. He also defends the bishop. He also defends the knight. He keeps putting pressure on my bishop. And now I wanted to go bishop f8 or rook c2 and then knight d5. That was my idea. I also briefly considered bishop f3. But bishop f3 is... I don't know. Bishop f3 seemed dubious because I don't really have an easy way to dislodge the knight. I think I should have gone rook c2. After rook c2, he probably plays bishop e3, defending the c1 square. He has to stop checkmate, and now bishop f8. If bishop b3, I can go rook b2. I'm a pawn up, and it's not really easy for him to do much. I have to untangle my pieces. I have to play something like g6 at some point. But yeah, it should be okay. Alternatively, the best move was bishop f8. I'm not sure I would have played this. Again, bishop e3, probably. Rook d3, bishop b3. Keeping everything secure, but of course, black is a pawn ahead with much better pieces, and it should be winning. Instead, I played the move that's inexplicable. To be perfectly honest, I thought I'd already played rook c2. I know that's hard to understand, but in my mind, the rook was on c2, and it was my move, and I played knight d5. The idea is, of course, if the rook was on c2, I know this sounds absurd, but let's imagine a position like this. And I go knight d5. If he takes my bishop, I can just take here. I take. This was what was going through my head. And when I played knight d5, I realized that my rook was on d2. And I guess... I mean, if somebody told me that I would make a mistake like this, I wouldn't believe it. But, okay, of course, leaving a full piece undefended is completely absurd. He just took on d5, and there is nothing I can do. There is nothing I can do. If he takes the bishop, I take his bishop. But he takes on d5, and that's it. My bishop is hanging in the end. E takes d5, knight takes, and that's it. The game is over. I just gave away a piece for nothing. I was material up, now I'm down a piece. I couldn't really calm down, so I kept playing a few more moves. In this position, I finally resigned. I should have resigned after knight d5. I didn't mean to be disrespectful to my opponent, but it's very hard to get a grip on yourself when you make a mistake like that. I don't think this is a chess mistake, and I spent a lot of time thinking about why I did this. I think it's a bad state of mind, and I'm changing that. So hopefully I don't make mistakes like this again. Up to this point, as I said at the start of the video, I'm extremely happy with this game. I think this is one of my best attacking games. I usually don't get winning positions of this fashion. I usually win with some slow strategic idea, not like this. In any case, sorry for the bad games. Hopefully that stops soon. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.